Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Smash Bros video here talking about Melee and the missing god PPMD and whether or not he can make the comeback that we know is coming sometime relatively soon. I know we've all thought about this and speculated, and we really haven't seen him since Apex. He had that Battle of the Five Gods appearance where he got just ousted in pools. But, you know, he's been dealing with a lot of health issues and mental health issues, and he says that he's got so much progress recently and that he really plans, like, more seriously this time than other times that he said this, that he's going to be coming back. You know, he doesn't know when. He's not going to put out a firm timetable. You know, it could be a year from now. He hopes and doesn't think it'll be much longer than that. But it's not going to be anytime soon. We know that. He did make his first tournament appearance since Battle of the Five Gods in Bad Moon Rising 2, where he participated in doubles with his old partner, Lozer. And Lozer was having his final tournament ever. And they used to be doubles partners, and they ended up getting fourth. So that's very cool for them. People were just going ecstatic, but... well, I'm not going to get too much into the doubles performance. Obviously, it's the most recent PPMD that we have seen in any sort of competitive sense. But I'm not going to read into it. A lot of people were like really impressed with Lozar, and they were like, people were hyping it a little bit too much, saying like, oh, these two could be the best doubles team in the world if they just, you know, went at it. When... I mean, the first time they meet a team that has two players in the top 25, they get 3-0'd with DizKid Boogie and Kobol, I think. They beat Hungrybox and Crunch in the round previously, and I think that was a 3-2. And, you know, there were some exciting parts, but I'm not going to read into it because... you can't really determine how well someone will be good at singles if you judge them off their doubles play. Otherwise, you know, the best players in the world would be, you know, Mewtwo King, Armada, Pew Fat. You know, that's just the way that it would be. People would be talking about, you know, Mango or, you know, Hungrybox if he's not with M2K. So we're not going to judge his doubles performance and say that it's expressive of what his singles performance would be. And I'm not going to give too much credit or, you know, denial to his ability based off of their performance. They could have gotten last in doubles or they could have gotten first, and either would make just as much impact as they had finishing fourth here today. It was nice to see him, and he did pull out the Falco. We know he had that interview with Armada during the charity stream a few months ago. He more recently had that interview with Tafokins, which gave us a lot of information of, you know, how he's been doing and, you know, what he's been, you know, preparing. He says that he was focusing mostly on one character, you know, when he comes back in, you know, maybe, you know, he doesn't really want to cement himself to starting off the one character, not being able to switch, but he says that is the plan, and most people speculated it would be Falco, and indeed in doubles at the very least, it was Falco. A lot of people thinking that Falco is the better option because his Marth might come up against a bit stiffer competition with so many people having practice against Pew Pew U and against M2K, and those Marths being just so much more than what PPMD, you know, did a few years ago. The game has evolved a lot. Not a ton of things have changed. It's not like tier lists have changed around in Melee, but the game has changed, and the way that the top players have played has changed as well, and we don't see very many Falcos. Really, the only Falco main we have is Westballs, and now and again Mango, more so Mango this year than the past 2 years with the Falco. So if he goes Falco, it'll be like a little bit more of a surprise because not many people have this experience against the top Falcos. They're not nearly as common. But there is a lot of questions whether PPMD can make a comeback. You know, if there was going to be a tournament and he just pops right in, I don't think he's going to be doing very well. A lot of people saying that he's still top 15 right out of the gate, maybe seed him 10 or 11. And I think that's relatively fair just to give him credit on not just his past experiences, but how he was able to get there. So if you take 2 years away from really any Melee player and then have them, you know, basically start over, and get back to a top player performance level, PPMD would be at the top of your list to perform really well in that situation, based off of how he initially broke into the scene, not having a lot of people to play against in his region, and just really doing the lab work with Falco and Marth, and basically, you know, reinventing the way that things were at top level of Melee without, you know, being in a super duper strong region. So if you can pick anybody, you know, maybe you would pick this guy or that guy, but our PPMD is definitely up there. Not just, you know, out of the top 20, but, you know, probably, you know, top 8 players as well. You take 2 years away from him, which PPMD basically hasn't played in 2 years. And we're not really going to count here Bad Moon Rising 2. That was, you know, just more for his brethren, and he kind of wanted to dip his toe into the competitive scene. We knew he was going to do something like this, whether he was going to go to a tournament and not play, or, you know, just do doubles or something like that. This is what we expected. And whether PPMD can make a comeback is definitely a very interesting topic that a lot of people have been wondering about, especially since he finally made a competitive appearance. You know, we're not counting so much his performance at Battle of the Five Gods, where he got mollywops, you know, didn't win. Didn't even get out of pools there. And so a lot of people are looking towards, you know, Apex, to the last time that we saw him in, you know, quote unquote his prime, you know, at his at the echelon of top Melee, even though he would say he didn't do spectacularly well in that tournament, all things considered. So PPMD, I think, definitely can make it to the top 15, probably the top 10. But there are still a lot of questions that would need to be answered before I say, oh yeah, he's guaranteed to be in top 8 every single tournament, like, you know, the other top 5 players in the world right now. I can't really say that for a variety of reasons. I mean, obviously it's been 2 years, so a lot of things have changed. The SDI has been a big change, one of the biggest changes in the metagame thus far. You know, a lot of people have gotten better, and, you know, he hasn't had, you know, the practice in 2 years. So there's a lot of questions in players and matchups and characters that he wasn't used to back then, or have just gotten so much better since. And him being on this 2 year long plus break, you know, it could be, you know, 2.5 or 3 years by the time everything is said and done, and PPMD feels comfortable enough to go into things. A is the stamina, the longevity. You know, it's been a long time, and he's had a lot of health issues. So whether he can have the stamina for, you know, a 2 or 3 day tournament remains to be seen. You know, he still has to, you know, build up the muscle. He still has to practice. He still has to, you know, work out more so than, you know, just doing the tech skill, you know, by himself. He has to play people, play a bunch of different top players, you know, quite a few different characters over the course of several, or, you know, at least more than 1 day. Or, you know, maybe even a super duper long day. We've seen 1 day tournaments where, you know, they're just going like 12 straight hours sometimes. So the many questions that need to be answered is the stamina, just because it's been a long time and he has had, you know, a lot of health issues. I don't think his mental game is something that we need to like really delve into, because he was a top level player. He's absolutely used to everything. Maybe there would be a little bit butterflies, but I'm sure that would all wash away relatively quickly, getting on a bike and all that good jazz. But as far as, you know, cracking into top 10, being standard top 8, or being back to being in the top 5 in the game, I don't see that happening right away, obviously. But I also don't see that happening, you know, even with some time. Once he, you know, greases the wheels and irons everything out, you know, he's gonna have to face Axe, and he doesn't have, you know, that Pikachu practice. And Axe kind of just destroys a ton of people. You know, he's a top 10 player. How is he going to go up against the speed of Wizzy and S2J, who's like so much better now? SFAT, who's way better than he was before. How is he going to deal? I mean, if he's going Falco, which a lot of people say he should, and I think there's a lot of things to back that up. How is he going to deal with the Spaceys matchups? How is he going to deal with all the top level Foxes now? You know, every year things change in how people like approach Fox, and there's like so many different playstyles of playing Foxes. You know, how many lasers you go through, what you're doing out of, you know, certain tilts and setups, and, you know, edge guard places. You know, I don't think he's gonna be able to beat Axe right away, or Plup or Wizzy. Those are kinds of matchups that he would not be used to, and they are top level consistent players. So that'd be very, very rough for him for all of a sudden to play the best Pikachu of all time and to play Plup, who now has an insane Sheik, and, you know, all of the Ices that are, you know, wrecking havoc all over the place. How's he going to deal with Chudat, who's now a lot of people consider to be like top 6, top 7? How is he going to deal with, you know, SFAT and the speed of Armada? Who knows what Mango is going to do? You know, if he goes up against PPMD, do they go Falco Dittos? Does he go Fox? Yeah, that always seems to be changing up with Mango. So, like, but before we even get into the gods, which is something that we definitely need to discuss, it is the rest of the field that is going to be difficult. Obviously, I think, you know, he could get, once things get going, he'll be able to get out of pools. He is one of the greatest to ever play the game, but whether he can keep up with Axe, Plup, Wizzy, you know, Leffen may be a little inconsistent, but, you know, he's still a top player out there. How is he going to deal against all the Foxes? How is he going to deal with these new and improved Sheiks and, you know, this Pikachu, these really, really good tech chase Captain Falcons like Wizrobe? And, you know, S2J has had a lot of good performances, say, like against Mango. He had that one really good set against Armada fairly recently. So he's not going to be able to just, like, steamroll his way through, you know, non-gods like he might have in the past, just because everybody's gotten better, like everybody. And then you'd have to deal with, like, what's he going to do against M2K? He's one of the few people who's able to go toe-to-toe with Mewtwo King's Marth, but does Mewtwo King go with Marth against the Falco? Do they go for Marth Dittos? Mewtwo King's Marth is so much better than it was last time PPMD faced him. And, you know, obviously there's the Sheik. And how is he going to be able to deal with the Jigglypuff? How is he going to be able to deal with Hungrybox? Who, I mean, even the people that play against Prince Abu time and again, they can't do anything against Hungrybox because he's just on another level with that character. So I don't see him doing well against the gods, at least for a little bit. You know, maybe, you know, he takes a couple of games or gets, you know, 1 or 2 wins against maybe Leffen or Mango. How's he going to deal with Armada now that Armada has a Fox? You know, he's been able to do things against the Peach, but now Armada has, you know, he's the best Fox in the world now. So how is PPMD going to be able to deal with these top-level Foxes that have just gotten better? And all the increased speed, the SDI, the tech chase setups, and just the sheer consistency that we've seen out of the top players in the game right now. So I think PPMD, with just a little bit of time, could definitely crack top 15 in the world. You know, he is that good that he can do that relatively quickly. And, you know, we've seen the skill, and I think we can take him for his word for how much he's been progressing. That, you know, if he says he's, you know, top 15 or, you know, top 12, we should, you know, at least expect him to be somewhere near that. And I don't think that's asking too much. But whether he's going to be able to go his way through the field and in a multi-day tournament, I think that's going to take a while. And whether he can compete with the gods right now and Leffen, you know, and Plup and the rest of them out there, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be free. And that is that's something that we're just gonna have to wait and see. Nobody really knows. You know, let's say he starts 4 months from now. Let's say he like really gets into it. It could be a year before he takes, you know, multiple sets off of top 6 players in one tournament. But we know he's capable, as long as, you know, the health issues and everything goes well for him. And he says he's been making really good progress. But I think people are buying into too much hype. They really want him to succeed, especially if they were a fan a long time ago, where they're just nostalgic of that time period is super duper common. When he was, you know, the top player in the world, or at the very least one of the top, you know, he is one of the gods. But I think people should temper their expectations. Get excited, you know, that he is getting back into the game, and when he does, you know, give him the support. But I don't think we should expect top level results quickly, or possibly even a few months in, for the many reasons that I've explained here. Because he's going to have to beat, you know, Mewtwo King. He's going to have to beat possibly Leffen. He's going to have to beat, you know, Armada's Fox. He's going to have to beat Hungrybox's Jigglypuff. And that's already a tall order for the people who have been top level players for the past couple of years and didn't take any sort of hiatus or break. So That's going to be one hell of a hill to climb if you want to put your money on him. There's a lot of data going for you, but I'd say we shouldn't temper our expectations and give him the time that he needs.